Good evening. I'm pleased to be here tonight to present this Outstanding Director Award to Todd Urness. Todd's wife, Catherine, and their sons are here tonight, as are directors and officers of Bridgewater Bank and many of his colleagues from the law firm Winthrop and Weinstine. For those of you that are not familiar with Bridgewater Bank, we were founded in 2005 by our chairman, Jerry Bach, who couldn't be with us tonight. We are an entrepreneurial organization that has grown organically over the past 13 years to the 9th largest bank in the Twin Cities. This past March, we completed a successful initial public offering. It was the first IPO by a Minnesota bank in over 25 years. Todd was a founding director and a shareholder of the bank and has played an important role in these successes. Since the beginning, he has been a reliable financial contributor, a strategic partner, and a strong advocate for the bank. Todd provided some of the initial seed money for starting the bank, and he has participated on every capital raise since the bank's inception. Although he's one of our major shareholders, Todd never takes extra credit for what he is doing. Rather, he often sits on the sidelines, taking little credit for his accomplishments. Todd is a strong advocate of the bank, and he regularly looks for opportunities to promote the bank to his colleagues in the real estate and the business community. The bank has benefited greatly from his referrals, and many of them are now our top clients. Todd originally founded the Affordable Housing Tax Credit Program at his law firm, which is now its largest group. He saw an opportunity for the bank, and he helped the bank create a tax credit business line, which includes volunteerism and support for affordable housing organizations. As a CPA and attorney, he brings a wealth of knowledge to our board with his insight on real estate transactions, business matters, and legal issues. He is known as the counselor by his fellow board members. He has always been very supportive of our leadership team, and he challenges us to set ambitious goals. During the financial crisis, he pushed us to stay aggressive and seek out new client relationships while others were turning away new and existing business. I know I speak for my fellow board members as well as the entire staff of Bridgewater Bank when I say thank you, Todd, for your ongoing contributions to the bank. We could not have done it without you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Todd Urness.
Well, I'm not sure that I'm in the right place, actually. I just heard about, I'm just looking at this biotech, saving people's lives. I'm not really sure how many different boards Wendy was on. Our deal is a little more straightforward. We're taking our depositors' money and we're trying to loan it out to customers, put a little bit of markup on it, and get it paid back. So that's. But anyway, we're not really saving lives, and at the worst thing that can happen is we could lose a little money. But my first introduction to Bridgewater Bank was Jerry Bach. Jerry would be here tonight, but he has a crushing vacation schedule that made him not available. Jerry has been our CEO and chairman of the bank since 2005. In the spring of 2005, Jerry advised me that he was starting a de novo bank and was in the process of raising capital for the bank and putting together his initial board of directors. Jerry asked me if I would be interested in participating in the board and whether I'd be interested in making an investment. Excuse me. I told Jerry for sure I would invest, but that I wanted to talk to some of my law partners about the board seat. I think some of them are here tonight. So I subsequently asked my law partners, who are literally experts in this area and very good friends of mine. They've known me for 35 years. They advised me under no circumstances should I agree to serve on the board of a community bank or financial institution. I called Jerry back and told him I was in, for sure. In forming Bridgewater Bank, Jerry was trying to do something that was pretty unique. Jerry was attempting to raise a fairly reasonable amount of money at the time, $10 million. It doesn't sound like a lot if you say it fast, but it was a lot of money at the time. And the bank would focus on middle market real estate lending. The unique part, I think, from my perspective, was Jerry wanted to have a very broad group of shareholders, and he didn't want any shareholder to have over 5 or 10% of the total bank investment. In short, Jerry did not want to have a boss. The initial investment closed in the fall of 2005 with about $12 million in capital. So we've gone from about 12 million in capital in 2005 to a market cap of about 380 million and about 1.7 billion in assets today. So I was just going to say a couple words of what was the secret sauce? There are a couple of things, I think. One is very common. It's the ability to develop a good team. And the other one is a willingness to be unconventional. In terms of team building, Jerry was able to assemble a strong, cohesive group of senior management. And so somebody else did. So Mary Jane Crocker is our COO, and Jeff Shellberg is our Chief Credit Officer, and they've been with us since before the bank started, literally. Nick Place is our Chief Lending Officer, and Joe Chabowski is our CFO. Nick is about 30 years old, and he's been our Chief Lending Officer for like 10 years, so I don't know, you'd have to do the math. All of these people have been around since 2005, and quite frankly, they've been responsible for whatever success that we have enjoyed at the bank. The other area that I think is, fairly common for team builders is our hiring practices. As our growth caused the need for talent, Bridgewater was able to put together a very young employee group. Rather than focus exclusively on recruiting people from other institutions, management focused on recruiting people right out of school and investing in those people's training. Bridgewater currently has about 125 employees, many of whom are very young, and Bridgewater may likely have been their first job or certainly their first career. I think our average age is like 32 years old. We've all heard about the millennial ambivalence of working. I personally have seen a lot of it, but these young people have brought a ton of enthusiasm for their jobs, and I really think it's a strategic advantage for us. The second attribute that I think is part of the secret sauce, at least to the extent that we have any, is our willingness to be unconventional. Jerry started out with a board group of 4 outside directors, which were largely mutts, and then the insider group, which we've already discussed. But the cool part of it was Jerry wanted this broad shareholder base. I think with our initial group of shareholders, we had roughly, in our friends and family offering, 100. We had like 75 to 100 shareholders. That base had grown to about 200 prior to our public offering, and I think in that process we added obviously many more. But those shareholders have been great customers of the bank, and they've been outstanding referral sources, and I think this is a very unique model. This has been alluded to before, I won't belabor it, but we were open for business during the financial crisis. This was obviously counter-cyclical. Not everybody could do it, obviously, but we were young, and I don't know we were young, but we were inexperienced, so we thought it was a good idea to keep going. During that time period, we were able to raise equity capital, subordinate debt, which enabled us to continue to fund our growth and continue to provide financing for our core customers. And this has also turned out to be a good strategy. Finally, we were able to, we've talked about this public offering, but we talked about private equity. We were able to, most community banks our size are not participating in the private equity area. In 2014 and 15, we were able to successfully use 4 private equity firms to raise $40 million, and we picked up 4 very good institutional partners, and that was an outstanding strategy. So in conclusion, the the senior management, and with a little help from us, took this company from a friends and family kind of offering of $12 million back in '05. We went through a couple rounds of private equity, and ultimately we did a public offering. That life cycle of a company, that was the dream of most entrepreneurs in the 80s and 90s. They wanted to go, going public was all a thing. Obviously, like in Minnesota, back in the 80s and 90s, I remember 20 or 30 companies a year would go public. It's obviously quite rare now. We believe this is a good road to be on, but it's clearly a path less traveled. I would like to thank Jerry, who is not able to join us, as we said, the senior management team, and other members of the board. Frankly, any of them could be here and probably should have been here, but I think I got picked because I was the oldest guy. So yeah, we've had a lot of fun, and we hopefully have made a little bit of money along the way. Thank you very much.